You, hey, if you go over to my main channel, guys, about motivating, mentoring, and modeling womanhood for women on my main channel with my name, Melissa Marie May, you will see a video directing you over here. I want to talk about Jill Winebanks for a minute, okay? Her language on Miss Studios, Miss Magazine, Miss Studios podcast with Michelle Goodwin. This is a new podcast that's out. She has talked about those who support Trump are the cult of Trump. How does she do this? How is somebody called her on it and said, "You're using the word cult. Do you want to back up what you mean?" She basically said it's someone who doesn't look at facts. They follow blindly. So those of us, me included, who follow Trump, who support Trump, are following blindly. This is a huge mistake for Miss Jill Winebanks to say. Extremely, extremely wrong, and it actually makes her look like she doesn't know how to think. Jill Winebanks, she was the attorney of Watergate, okay? She was an attorney. So I want to say something else first about the cult. She says it's also ignoring reality. It's ignoring facts and it's ignoring reality. So how does this happen when us Trump supporters are being called cult followers when we use our mind to think? The reason why I like Trump, many reasons, but one, he is going to stand up for our rights for guns. He is going to close the border. He's going to, make immigration legal instead of illegal. That's just politics. That's just economics, right? We cannot afford to have whatever the number is, millions of people coming in here, taking all the resources all at once. We cannot afford that, okay? So that's just your basic common sense. And then Jill Winebanks wants to say, when we think about this stuff and we think about bringing stuff back into America, drill baby drill, when we think about this, he's going to be tough on crime. He is not going to defund the police. He is going to increase the police's funding. Is this all common sense? To me it is. So what I'm going to get to here is these women, and this is why I'm going to be talking about this on this channel instead of my political channel. It's on this one because we're going to debunk some of the thinking. So Jill Winebanks, you think, okay, someone who's got money, someone who has prestige, she's made it to the top, she ought to be smart, right? And then you hear this kind of thinking, and you're like, people who support Trump, are you really saying they belong in a cult? Are you really saying that? The majority of people she has just insulted, the majority with Trump leading, is definitely showing that most people have common sense. So let's back this up a minute, okay? J.D. Vance is getting the heat because he has said that most women should be mothers, right? He's not saying all, he's saying there's just a place in our society for women to put motherhood above career. I agree with that. I'm not saying women cannot work. I mean, I homeschooled, right? Could I have taken my time to be an attorney if I needed to be, if I wanted to be? Of course. Does it mean that I cannot have children? No, I could have had my three, at a certain level, and then my two, and, worked part-time, whatever. I even went to college for court reporting is what I thought I would do. Women can do it. And we seem to have this mindset that women either have to be moms and at home full time, or they have to be at work, instead of realizing women can be moms and they can work. They can do both. And there's different seasons in that time. So you can't always, when you have a baby, you don't want someone else raising your children, right, when they're young. You want to be home with your children. So, but as they get older, you have time to be creative and do, especially nowadays, so much stuff, right? So much stuff. So for this woman to have a career where she's, up there, right? You would think she knows how to think better. And what I have a problem with is not that she's made it well in the world. It's that she doesn't know how to think. She doesn't know how to think things through right. And when you're dealing with people like this who don't have basic traditional values, but they have the world and they have worldliness, and they take their propaganda and put it on women by saying us women shouldn't be voting for Trump, I have a problem with that. And I, in fact, think that the minority who think as this woman does is in the wrong. So, one of the things Trump stands for, one of my sons just got home. One of the things Trump stands for is he's very against abortion, right? He's against it, and I think J.D. Vance is against it even more. And this is the way it should be. We should be pro-family. We should be totally against abortion. We should not be having a society that's childless. And we know this too economically. We have the younger generation going to war. We have the younger generation taking care of the older generation usually. It just makes sense to have big families. So for a woman like Jill Winebanks, someone who should know how to think with the background she has and know how to discern, world views, biblical views, I am shocked at her thinking that people who support Trump actually don't know how to think. That's exactly what she's saying, that we don't know how to think. And I just find, women, ladies, that if you grow up and you have basic traditional values and you are the hand that rocks the cradle, you are going to be in a better position than a woman who goes after a career. She puts herself first. She doesn't sacrifice for kids. And I'm not saying all women have to do this, but when this is the norm, okay, women out there, and say forget kids, you are going to do worse off for yourself. And as a pro-life woman, I can tell you this, because a lot of women are out there, they're in the world, they got a worldly mentality, they're dealing with a lot of stuff. When you are home with your kids, and even if you do work, you have the benefit usually of having your husband's opinions. You have the benefit of having time to be around other women and learn from other women. You have the benefit of being around a community so that you get better teaching than what the world has to offer, honestly. So we don't want to mimic women like Jill Winebanks. She doesn't know how to think. She doesn't know how to think outside the box. She should be able to say something like, I personally am not a traditional woman, so I would not be somebody who would vote for Trump. I'm more of a liberal, and that's how I would vote. Not people who vote for Trump don't know how to think in their occult. So I really feel like whatever background she has had has not prepared her to think better in life. And we need people who know how to think out of the box, and how to really benefit society in good ways, not with this garbage that people who think differently are a cult. Okay, that's what I got for now, guys. Thanks for joining me.